yourself in a high plank pose. So you can bring your wrists under your shoulders and then lift your hips into downward facing dog. In this first downward facing dog, you might want to bring your feet a little wider on the mat, and you might want to bend your knees. Notice how when you bend your knees, you can start to lift your sits bones up and then pull your lower belly in. And as you do that, hug your upper arm bones towards each other. Let go of tension in the back of the neck. Let the head hang, and you can even just sort of nod your head side to side. And then give yourself a moment to pause, a moment of stillness and quiet, to just notice where you're feeling sensation. So typically sensation in yoga is the lengthening of the posture, the stretch. We don't typically say that making a muscle is sensation. So just notice where you're feeling in your body. And then if your feet are further apart than 6 inches, bring them in. And on your inhale, come forward into a high plank pose. Pull your lower belly in, rock forward on your toes, and feel yourself broadening your chest as you press your heart forward. And then on your exhale, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Give yourself another moment in down dog to press the mat away with your hands and feel yourself reaching through your elbows so they're straight. And then feel the action. You can even come forward just a bit. And then feel the action of pressing the tops of your thigh bones back, drawing your lower belly in. And then let's flow with the breath. So you'll come to a high plank pose as you inhale. And as you exhale, lift your hips to your down dog. And then just keep feeling this rhythm through your body. And you're opening through the shoulders here. And through the hips, this joint of thigh bone and pelvis. Give yourself another few movements. And the next time you come into down dog, stay for an inhale. And on an exhale, bring your knees down to the mat for child's pose. So knees wide, big toes touch, hips to your heels. With your hips on your heels, you can stack your arms. Bring your forehead center down. Or if you like, keep your arms straight, forehead center down. And then begin to notice here the movement of your breath. So maybe even checking in for the first time today, noticing the ebb and the flow. Let your hips get heavy towards your heels, which again might be pressing the mat away. And then notice the two sides. Notice maybe if your right hip, right sitting bone is closer to the heel than the left, or vice versa, or maybe you're symmetrical. Pull your navel into your spine. Feel more of a rounding through the low back as you do. And then on your next inhale, come forward into a tabletop position. So in your tabletop, with your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips, you'll come into cow posture. Pressing the mat away, crease of the elbows forward, chest presses forward. And on the exhale, draw your navel into your spine and arch your back into your cat. And then give yourself some movement here, some flows, where you're moving the pelvis on the thigh bones. And you're going through this protraction and retraction of your shoulder blades. So when the shoulder blades spread apart in your cat, that's protraction. Retraction is in your cow. And then between these two major joints, you've got the movement of the spine. Give yourself another inhale and an exhale. And then step your right foot forward between your hands, and we're coming to a kneeling warrior two. So you're going to pivot to the left and align your right heel with your left knee. So pivot to the side of the mat, look to the side of the room. Right heel aligns with left knee. We're going to come into side angle kneeling, where you're going to bring your right forearm down to your right thigh, and then take your right hand to the front of the left hip. So right hand will just sweep across your belly to the front of the left hip. And then reach your left arm over in side angle. And then start to feel the front of the left hip. Feel a lengthening of it as you press the front of the left hip into your right palm. And we're getting some opening here to the psoas and also to the QL and your back body. So these muscles that get short and overly contracted from sitting. Give yourself another inhale and an exhale. And then slowly make your way up. Bring your hands to your hips, pivot to the front of the mat, and then start to pull the front rim of your pelvis up as you pull your navel in, and reach your arms up as you begin to lunge forward. So as you're lunging forward, you're squeezing your left glute, lengthening your tailbone down, and this zippering up action of your front core. Give yourself another inhale. And on the exhale, hands float down to the mat. You'll come into your tabletop again. And then in your tabletop, make your way through your cat-cow movements. And then you'll step your left foot forward and you'll pivot and open the hips. So like your warrior two, you'll align your left heel with your right knee and then bring the left forearm down to the thigh. So now coming into side angle. You'll bring your left palm to the front of the right hip and then reach your right arm up and over. So as you do this, press down with your right shin and foot and press the front of the right hip into your left palm. Feel this opening on the front of the right thigh, and you might also feel lengthening in your back body. Give yourself another inhale here, and an exhale. And then you'll pivot back to center, and you'll come into your low crescent lunge. So in your low lunge, you're not just lunging forward and hanging out in vacation lunge. You're actually working. So pull your front belly in. You'll notice that your pelvis moves back. Tuck your tailbone as you squeeze your right glute. And then as you're zippering up your front core, feel the lift to the chest. Stay here for an inhale. And on an exhale, hands float down to the mat and you'll come into your high plank pose. From your high plank, draw your navel in and lift your hips, downward dog. Feel the action of pressing the mat forward as you lift the sits bones up and back. Keep hugging your upper arms in, navel into spine. And then look at your right foot, start to lift your right leg up, toes point to the floor. Press the right heel to the wall behind you as you press the top of the left thigh bone back. And then draw your right knee into your nose and you'll step forward, pivoting and opening to your warrior two. So as you come into your warrior two, square your hips to the long edge of the mat and then feel yourself lengthen your tailbone down as you draw your belly in. And then Same thing as before. You're going to take your right forearm down to the thigh, side angle, as you reach your left arm over. Drive your left heel into the floor and feel that same opening on the front of the left hip as you use your right forearm to press your right knee back to your pinky toe. Squeeze your outer hips, your glutes. Lean back into your left shoulder. Stay for an inhale. And on an exhale, look to your right foot. Hands will come down to the mat or maybe your blocks. Your back knee will lower to the mat. And we're coming into a half split. So straightening your right leg, and you might even need to press your right heel more forward on your mat. And then notice if all the weight is over to the left. Bring weight over towards the right, and then flex your right foot. And then also notice if you're hunching your back. Maybe bend your right knee a little bit, press your sits bones, your hips back, and bring your right ribs to your thigh. Give yourself a number of breaths here, flexing the right foot, reaching your right hip back, and getting into the belly of the hamstring. Another inhale, and an exhale. And then you'll bend your front knee, your right knee, sweep your arms up, come into your low lunge as you pull the belly in and lift through the heart. Another inhale. Exhale, hands down to the mat, and you'll come into your high plank pose. Pause in your high plank pose as you draw your front core in, and then bring your knees down to the mat. You'll bring your right hand underneath your nose to the center of the mat. We're coming into a side plank where your right knee will stay on the floor. You can swivel the right leg and bring the right toes off the mat and then open up into a side plank. So before you lift the left leg or do anything dramatic in the posture, first press the front of the right hip away. And notice how that shifts the alignment. Just pressing the front of the right hip away, as if you were pressing it into your palm. And then shift the right shoulder over the wrist, and you'll notice your left leg gets light. Flex the left foot, and then lift the left leg up so the heel is at hip height. And then you'll reach your left arm up to the ceiling, lean back into your left shoulder as you tuck your tailbone down. Give yourself another inhale. And on an exhale, hand floats down to the mat, and you'll make your way into your high plank. And from your high plank, your downward dog. Pressing the mat away. Draw your navel in. And then look at your left foot. Keep the toes angled down. Start to lift the leg up, and then pause. Press the left heel back as you press the top of the right thigh bone back. And then draw the left knee into your nose, step forward, pivot, windmill open to your warrior two. So as soon as you're in warrior two, square your hips to the long edge of your mat and feel the lengthening of the glute flesh down as you pull the front of the pelvis up. And then we'll bring the left forearm down to your thigh as you sweep your right arm up and over. And notice, are you hunched a little bit with your right shoulder forward? Press down with your right foot and heel and start to lean back into your right shoulder. Feel the opening of the front of the right hip as you drive your right heel down. Draw your lower belly in, and then feel yourself with your left arm pressing the knee back towards its pinky toe. Give yourself another moment here. And then you'll look down to your left foot. You'll pivot, Your right knee will lower, and then you'll come into your half split. So you might want to bring the ground up to you using your blocks, and then flexing your left foot. So in the flex, notice if you're turning your big toe in towards your face, press it away, so you're lengthening the inner ankle. And then you might even want to bend your left knee some, so you can feel yourself reaching both sitting bones back and lifting them up. And then pull your navel into your spine, and instead of pulling the belly away from the left thigh, press the left ribs onto the left thigh. Give yourself just a few more moments here. And then you'll bend your left knee, and you'll reach your arms up. Start to lengthen your tailbone down, pull your belly in and lift through the heart. And then on your exhale, hands will come down to the mat, and you'll come into your high plank pose. And then from your high plank, bring your knees to the floor. You'll bring your left hand to the center of the mat. Left knee will stay on the floor as you swivel the leg so the left foot comes off the mat for the side plank. And then straighten your right leg. So before you do anything, press the front of the left hip. You can even bring your right hand to the left hip. Press the front of the left hip into your palm, and then shift forward so your left shoulder's over the wrist. And then keep pressing the front of the left hip away, opening it, and you're actually contracting the back of the hip. And then you'll reach your right arm up, lean back into your right shoulder, look to your thumb, and give yourself another inhale. And an exhale. And then release the hand down to the mat. And you'll come into your high plank pose. And from your high plank, downward dog. And maybe you need to pedal your feet some. If there was a lot of contraction in the back of the left hip. So when we open one side, like we just did, the front of the left hip, you might notice the contraction in the back. Stay for another inhale. And an exhale. And then walk your feet forward to the top of the mat. Bring your hands to your shins, so you're coming into a half lift. And then imagine that we were in a classroom together in a studio, and I'm pulling your hips back. So feel that action of reaching your sitting bones back. Look down at the floor, and then you reach the crown of the head forward and pull your shoulders down your back from your ears. So feel sitting bones reach back, shoulders draw down your back, crown of the head forward. Pull your lower belly in. And then on your next exhale, you'll fold. Root through your inner feet and reverse swan dive. Reaching high. And then exhale, arms float down to your side. Bring your palms forward. Ground through your inner feet as you press your heels into the floor. Feel the action of drawing your upper arms back and tops of the shoulders down. Notice the ebb and the flow, the movement of your breath. Stay here for an inhale and an exhale. Bringing the hands behind your head, interlace your fingers. Press your elbows back. Feel your chest broaden and open, and then sit down into a chair pose. So as soon as you come into your chair, you're bringing the weight back into your heels. Press down through your big toe mound and tuck your tailbone. Feel the length to the low back as you press your heart forward. Stay here for another inhale. And on an exhale, Fold forward, hands down to the mat, and you'll come into your high plank pose. And then from your high plank, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Give yourself a moment, take a breath in, and a breath out. And then looking at your right foot, lift it up. And then we're stepping the right foot forward. So draw the knee into your nose into warrior one. So hips are facing the front of the mat. You can bring your hands to your hips to start, pulling your right hip back and your left hip moves forward. Tailbone tucks down and then reach your arms up. Feel your side body get long. So feel yourself drawing your belly in and then feel the action of opening the back leg. So drive your left heel down, squeeze your left glute, and feel the opening of the front of the hip. Stay here for an inhale and an exhale. And then straighten your front leg. You'll step your left foot up and out 3 inches. Coming into, we're setting up for pyramid pose. Square your hips forward to the short edge of the mat, and then hinging forward at the hips. Holding on to your hips, notice if your right hip is more forward than the left. Draw your right hip back. Bend your right knee slightly, and feel yourself lifting your sits bones up like in down dog. Keep hugging your outer hips in, and then come into airplane arms, palms facing down, thumbs rotating up. Pull your chin in. Press the back of the skull to the ceiling as you pull your navel into your spine. Stay here for another inhale and an exhale. Next inhale, reach the arms up, return to your warrior one, and then stay low in the right leg. Take the challenge and step forward into your chair pose. And as you sit into your chair, weight moves back into your heels. You press your big toe mounds down, pull your belly in and press your heart forward. Another inhale. And on the exhale, swan dive forward. Hands down to the mat into your high plank. Shift forward on your toes and downward dog. Give yourself a moment in your down dog. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then looking at your left foot, toes stay angled to the floor. Lift the left leg up. Press down with your right heel. And then draw your left knee into your nose. Step forward to your warrior one. And as you come up, hold on to your outer hips. You'll pull your left hip back and right hip forward. And then pull the front rim of the pelvis up. Drive your right heel down and feel that action of opening the front of the right hip. Give yourself another moment here, pulling your front core in and pressing the heart forward. An inhale and an exhale. Bringing your hands back to your hips, straighten your front leg, your right foot 3 inches, step it forward. Square your hips again to the short edge of the mat, and then hinging forward. So as you hinge forward, draw the left hip back and lift the left sitting bone up. Pull your belly in as you tuck your chin in, pressing the back of the skull to the ceiling. And then again, come into your airplane arms, palms face down, thumbs rotate up. And then feel the action of scooping the chest forward. Give yourself another inhale and an exhale. Next inhale, sweep the arms up. Feel your side body get long as you bend your left knee. Stay low in your left thigh. Step forward to your chair pose.
Bending the knees, bring the hips a little lower. Press the shins back as you tuck your tailbone down. Root through your inner feet and feel the lift of the chest. Another inhale. And on an exhale, swan dive forward. Hands to the mat. You'll come into your tabletop as you bring your knees down to the floor. So setting up with wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Give yourself a moment to take an inhale and an exhale. And then looking down at your knees, you're going to take the right foot back, straightening, extending the right leg. So as you do this, you've just opened the front of the right hip. And then keep the toes pointed to the floor as you lift the right leg up. And then look down at the center of your mat between your thumbs. Pull your lower belly in. And then if you like, reach your left arm forward. Palm can face up. Drive your right heel back. Pull your belly in. Reach forward through your fingers. And then you'll release to your tabletop. On the inhale, lift your chest and sits bones in cow. And then come into your cat. And then again, make your way into your cow and your cat. One more time. Take a big breath in and a breath out. And then looking down at your knees, take your left leg back. So you can see your 5 toes on the mat, curled under. Keep that same position of the foot as you lift the leg up. So the toes don't move over to the left. Press back through the left heel, squeeze the left glute, and pull your belly in. Notice you've gotten soft in your elbows, your arms. Press the mat away. And then if you like, reach your right arm forward, palm faces up. Squeeze your right glute, pull belly in. Give yourself another moment. And then release. Make your way back to your tabletop. And then this time, shift your hips towards your heels. And then inhale and come forward. 2 more times. Shift your hips towards your heels. And inhale, you come forward. 1 more time. Shift your hips back to your heels. And then inhale and come forward. Step your right foot forward, then your left foot forward. And bring your hands to your shins. Come into a half lift. And then exhale. And you fold. Root through your inner feet. Reverse reach all the way up. And exhale, arms float to your side. So bring your palms to face forward. Give yourself a moment here. Take an inhale and an exhale. And what we're going to do is move into pyramid again. And then from pyramid, we're going to lift the back leg and feel the essence of Warrior 3. We're not going to come into the full posture just yet. So hold on to your hips and take your left foot back. And as you do that, you'll square your hips forward, and it's a forward hinge, a contraction of the front of the hip as you fold. Hold on to your hips. You might even want to bend your right knee some and draw your right hip back. Lift your sitting bones up and pull your belly in. And then bend your right knee just a bit more, and you're going to lunge forward. Your left toes will get light on the floor, or lift them just an inch. Flex your left foot as you pull your belly in and press back through your left heel. So feel strength in the left leg. Keep pulling belly in and give yourself another inhale and an exhale. And then bring the left foot down next to the right and come into your mountain pose. So take an inhale breath. And an exhale. Notice how your breath has perhaps gotten short. Deepen your inhale. Lengthen your exhale. Bring your hands to your hips. Take the right foot back. Square the hips forward as you hinge. And then just give yourself a moment in this version of pyramid pose to feel the lift of the sits bones and your hips square as you pull your navel into your spine. And then bend the left leg and then get strong in your right leg. So it's not at this point about lifting the right leg, but about flexing the foot and pressing the right heel away. So you feel the right quad engage. You can feel your right buttock engage. And then you'll bring your right foot forward. Come into your mountain pose. Give yourself a moment, take an inhale. And an exhale. So you can feel a lot of strength that is needed in the whole pelvic area. So front core and glutes, back core, also outer hip work. So now what we're going to do is you're going to step your right foot forward and you're going to bring your hands to the top of the right thigh bone. And then you're going to hinge forward again. And with the hands on the top of the right thigh bone, press it back. And notice how your outer right hip draws back. Then pull your belly in. And then you have a choice. You can stay here and practice or come into your warrior three legs. Lifting the left leg up. Pressing back through the left heel. Turning the left toes to the floor as you pull your belly in. And then bring the left foot down to the right and fold with your feet 6 inches apart. Chin into your neck. Notice any tension in the back of the neck. Let the head hang heavy. And then slowly bend your knees, roll up. Return to your mountain. Take a breath in and a breath out. Hands to the top of the left thigh bone as you step your right foot back. So notice the left outer hip comes forward. So as you press the top of the thigh bone back, the outer left hip moves back. Pull your belly in tight, and then you might just practice here, getting light on your right toes. Or shift forward. And as you lift your right leg, flex the foot, engage the glute, and pull your belly in tight. Keep pressing your left thigh bone back, turning your right toes to the floor, pressing through the heel. Give yourself another moment. And then lower the right leg and you fold. Draw your chin into your neck. Let the back of the head get heavy. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then from here, plant the hands, make your way back to your downward facing dog, pressing the mat away. Extension through the spine as you reach your hips high. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then lift your right leg up. We're coming to warrior one again. Draw the knee into your nose, step forward to your warrior one. So hips squaring to the short edge of the mat as you reach your arms high. So drawing the right hip back, left forward, and then we're going to feel this extension of the spine that we're working on in our Warrior Three. So bring the hands behind your head, interlace your fingers, press your elbows back, and fold forward. So your right ribs are on your right thigh. Press down through your inner right foot and draw the hip back. Pull the navel in and feel this pressing of the heart forward. And then can you feel the work of the back leg by driving the left heel down and opening the front of the left hip. Feel yourself press the back of the head into your hands, pulling your belly in. Stay for an inhale. And on an exhale, hands down to the mat. Come into your tabletop, and we're setting up for dolphin pose here. So we want to, again, feel that extension of the spine. Bring your hands into prayer and start to press your outer wrists and forearms down. Dolphin is downward dog on your forearms. Curl your toes under and then lift your hips. And then walk your feet in towards your elbows. And then once you get the feet in to the degree where your spine's extended and long, press down through the outer wrists and the forearms. And then you can even bend your knees and feel the lift of the sits bones up. And then start to straighten the legs as you pull your belly in tight. Give yourself another few breaths here. Feeling extension of the spine and the strength in the upper back to open the chest. And then bring your knees down to the mat. Big toes touch and come into child's pose for a moment. Again, in child's pose, assessing your breath. Noticing your inhale and the quality of your exhale. And then from here, make your way back to your downward facing dog, lifting your hips high. Give yourself a moment, take an inhale and an exhale. So we were working in dolphin to feel the strength of the back, to keep the spine extended. So the strength that you felt in the shoulder blade region. Looking at your left toes, lift your left leg up. And then draw the knee into your nose, step forward. Again to your Warrior One. Hips facing forward. Feel the opening on the front of the right leg as you bring the hands behind your head. Squaring the hips forward, and then you hinge forward. So you're not going to do it, but imagine you are lifting your right leg up. The right leg is strong, meaning the quadricep is engaged, the front of the thigh, and you're opening the front of the hip as you squeeze your right glute. Drive your right heel down. And then with the hands behind the head, press the back of the head into your hands. And then feel the shoulder blades firm on your back. Give yourself another moment here. And then release the hands down to the mat. And return to your tabletop. We'll come into dolphin a second time to build that strength. So, hands in prayer, elbows under shoulders, press down with the wrist, outer wrists and forearms, and then lift your hips up. Walk your toes in slightly. You can bend your knees if you like, and then lift the sits bones high. And notice that pulling of the shoulders away from the floor. Pull your lower belly in as you drive your arms down. And then just give yourself another moment here. Relax the neck. And then just notice the strength of your upper back.
Notice the extension, meaning length of the spine. And then bring your knees down to the mat. And you'll return to your tabletop. And then from your tabletop, step one foot forward, the opposite foot forward. Hands to your shins. Inhale. And exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse reach. And exhale, hands to your heart. So in Warrior 3, the front of the hip of the lifted leg is being opened. So that means the back of the hip, the glute, is contracted. So feel that opening of the front of the hip on the left leg as we step the right foot forward. And then you can hold on to your outer hips or bring your hands to your heart, or if you like, the hands resting on the top of the right thigh bone like we did previously. But as you come forward, feel that extension of the spine, so not hunching your back, but pressing the heart forward. And then root down through your inner right foot as you draw your right hip back. And then the left leg just gets light as it lifts. And you open the front of the left hip, engage the quad as you drive the heel back and squeeze the glute. Give yourself another few moments here. And then you'll release and fold forward and let it all go. And then bend your knees slightly, roll up. And you'll bring your hands to your heart. Just take a moment, a breath in and a breath out. Okay, putting all the puzzle pieces together for the second side. You'll step the left foot forward, and then you hinge forward at the hips. Then when we lift the right leg, the front of the right hip opens, the glute squeezes, the right quad gets really strong. So press through the inner left foot as the right leg lifts. As you drive the right heel back, the front of the hip opens, the belly pulls in, and you breathe. And then release and fold forward, let it all go. And then you'll bend your knees, come back to your tabletop. So we've done a lot of this idea of opening the front of the hip. So let's come into half pigeon and open the outer hip, back of the hip. So what is important is to bring the right knee to the very edge of the mat, and the foot will come as forward as the leg allows, the hip allows, and then you'll walk your left leg back, and as you walk your left leg back, you're pulling the pelvis down to the floor. If your right hip is not solid on something, bring a block or a pillow under your right hip. And then notice if all the weight is over to the right. We want to bring a balance of weight distribution between both sides, right and left. So you're actually getting that same opening on the front of the left hip that we've been focusing on. So think of the left leg as the lifted leg in your Warrior 3. So press the front of the left hip to the floor, and then you can walk your arms forward and fold. And then notice in this posture, half pigeon, if it's something where you're thinking, wow, this feels great, the release, or it might be a desire to leave the posture. And then notice if you can breathe and feel the whole body experience rather than the right hip guiding the experience.
yourself another moment here. And then roll on to your outer right hip. You're going to swing your left leg forward, and you can take your left leg, cross it over your right, and you'll take your right arm to hug your left leg in. We're coming into half Lord of the Fishes. You'll bring your left hand behind you, draw your navel in and sit tall. So again, there's a reaching up through the top of the head. Notice if your left hip, your left sitting bone is light. Drive it down, pull your navel in, and then you're using your right arm, hugging the left leg, to revolve or leverage the twist. Give yourself a few more breaths here. And then slowly unwind. And you'll take your left leg back and return to your tabletop. And in your tabletop, you can give your hips a little wag side to side. And then you'll bring your left knee to the edge of the mat, coming into half pigeon. So you want the knee to physically be closer to the edge of the mat than your hip. And then you'll walk your right leg back, drawing the pelvis back and down, and then maybe you bring a block or a pillow under your left hip. And then again, notice is all the weight over to the left. You want to come forward and distribute the weight so it's balanced and you can feel a pressing down of the front of the right hip. So we're opening the outer left hip, but at the same time, we're opening the front of the right hip. And then you can fold. And as you fold, relax through your shoulders. Notice any tension that crept up there. And then again, notice how your left and right side aren't symmetrical and how maybe you feel more on this side or even less. And if there's a lot of sensation, it's your body saying, hey, I need more of these types of poses, postures. Give yourself another few breaths. And then you'll lean over to your left hip and you'll swing your right leg around. And then you'll take your left arm, hug your right leg, pull your navel in, your right hand will cup behind you, and you'll sit tall. And then on the exhale, you'll use your left arm to leverage the twist to the right. And then notice if your right sitting bone is light, press it down, pull your navel in, and on each exhale breath, you work the twist. And you can even look at your right shoulder, look down, press the top of the right arm away to deepen the twist. And then slowly unwind. And you'll make your way onto your back, setting up for Savasana. So extend the legs. You want the heels a little wider than your hips. And you can even take this time to move the flesh of your seat down towards your heels. And then as you come onto your back, relax your toes. And bring your arms so your palms are off the mat. And then maybe walk your hands so they're about 10 inches from your hips. And then take a few exhale breaths and let there be a release
so the bones start to feel heavy to the floor. Relax through your lower belly. And feel the base of the tailbone resting on the mat. Feel the shoulder blades, the upper back on the floor. And can you get a little heavy on the front of your chest so your upper back relaxes more? Nod your chin in slightly so the back of the head feels heavy. And you can feel the back of the neck soften. Let the skin on the face relax as you feel the expression leave your face. And then give yourself this time to just notice your breath. If a thought pops up, imagine it like a parade passing by, and then return to your breath. Notice the thought that just passed by and return to your breath. Start to deepen your breath. So notice the filling up of your chest. Notice that expansion, what it feels like in your lungs. And what it feels like in the muscles surrounding the lungs, the muscles of respiration. And then on your exhale breath, feel your back body settle into the mat. And then bring some movement into your body. And roll over to your right side, pausing here. Blink your eyes open. Notice what you see to bring you even more back to the surface. Notice any sounds, anything you feel. And then moving slowly, make your way up to a comfortable seat. And bring your hands to your heart center. So give yourself a moment to acknowledge your practice. Notice your efforts. Notice the challenges that you overcame. And then bring your fingertips to your forehead center. Until next time, namaste. So, great work.